Nicki Collen has signed an extension at Baylor. I know there are a whole lot of Kim Mulkey people that exist in the Baylor realm still that are like, well, if we only had Kim Mulkey back, we could still win games.
Who will be listening. Yeah.
At this point, if you are Baylor, what you gave away, I know it's crass to open the Nicki Collen extension conversation with Kim Mulkey, but that's who I was at Baylor for. That's who you were at Baylor for. That's the person that brings in all the hype out of this stuff. For what you have lost in a national championship that you won at LSU, you have gained in a human being with a gentle, loving soul and a whole lot less PR nightmare.
Yeah.
Does this solidify Nicki Collen as the head coach of the Baylor women's basketball program without Kim Mulkey's name still somehow attached to her?
Oh, good question.
Thank you.
My quick instinctive answer has to be no. And it's evidenced by the fact that we're opening this with talking about Kim Mulkey. I think the thing that gets Kim Mulkey out of the conversation is winning a national championship, which is a really high bar. And most coaches who have coached women's college basketball have not done it nor come close to doing it. Yeah. But I think when you have a select few programs...
Gino hasn't done it in a long time either.
That's true. Gino's lost his fastball more at 11. There are a few programs where that becomes a standard. And, it's Baylor, obviously, UConn, Tennessee, South Carolina will be that absolutely when Dawn Staley leaves. That's just what you kind of have to deal with. So I think that, yes, Kim Mulkey will still be in the conversations. It will still be in the same breath when talking about Nicki Collen's career and whatever accomplishments comes along with that. And if and when she does win a national championship, that becomes... We really made out like bandits because we had a Hall of Fame coach and we lost her, and then we got another one.
Are Baylor fans excited by this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there is a big sect of what you kind of introduced with, though, of people who are never going to be happy not having Kim Mulkey. And we've seen it. I mean, the tip-off club with Baylor women's basketball, it's a mature crowd. Yeah, it certainly is. But they have been loyal, absolutely loyal to Baylor basketball for 20 plus years. And now, like LSU, like we've seen, we know that. We've seen plenty of that. They are loyal to Kim, and they think that Baylor has railroaded her. And sure, go ahead. But I think a lot of the Baylor diehards are in on this Nicki Collen thing. I think a lot of them like both coaches. I think there are some that also knew the headache that came with Kim Mulkey and understood that this is a better look for the university as well as a good step for the basketball program. So I think there is excitement around this. And I think from what it proves to me is, like, I liked the way that Nicki Collen has been going at Baylor. Especially really the way this last year ended, because, they were kind of in limbo in the middle of the season. And I think a lot of people were like, is this Nicki Collen experience working? And then they were, whatever, 2 baskets away basically from the Elite Eight. And you're thinking, this is a good ascension for this program, another ascension. And even when it's going well, though, when you're replacing a legend like Kim Mulkey, like, there's no guarantee that you're going to have the leash to build the program that you want to build. And what Baylor is showing is that, yes, you will have the leash to build this program the way you want it to. Oh, and also you've got this great new facility. You've got this awesome new arena. You are going to have the resources that Kim Mulkey did. And I think that's really important.
Tennessee struggled for a while without Pat Summitt. Yeah. I mean, you never want to be the one who replaces the legend. Kalen DeBoer is going to have a rough time at Alabama. And that's what Kim Mulkey was at Baylor. I mean, give her her flowers for winning a lot of games. She just is the type of person who would win a national championship and then throw a party at George's.
Yeah.
Win a championship at LSU and then come back to Waco, put a billboard in town, and then throw a party at the most popular restaurant in the city.
And, out on her way out once the men's team finally wins something.
Yes. With that note, she was doing it for her friends. Come on, man. She has a bunch of friends there and an ex-husband. With that note, is Baylor better off without Kim Mulkey and with Nicki Collen? That question is for you, the Baylor expert.
To be determined.
Ooh.
Am I allowed to do that?
That's kind of tough.
Like, look,
Yeah.
If this program doesn't advance in the next 2 years, and again, that's an Elite Eight, that's a Final Four. Like, we're talking big time wins. If it doesn't advance to that level, then I don't know that we can say that. Now, as someone who follows the team pretty closely, I think they have a damn good chance of doing that, of advancing to that level. I really do. I think they've got a really solid roster this year that could well be the favorites to win the Big 12. So that's the kind of standard we're talking about. I think it's overall a better thing for Baylor. I think, and the reason that I will use for why it's going to be a good thing down the line is I think Nicki Collen and the way she does things is going to have a better shelf life than the way Kim Mulkey does things, which could sound controversial. I think at the end of 4 or 5 years here, we're going to say, I think the rest of the country is going to say, yeah, I'd rather have Nicki Collen. The Kim Mulkey thing, it's getting old. We kind of had this discussion when that hit piece came out of like, but this is what Kim is. Like, for better or for worse, she should. I was like, she shouldn't even have to apologize for that. First off, it's her personal life, and like, call Kim whatever you want. She's not a phony, okay? She's not that at all. And so I think that is going to run dry. I think Nicki Collen's play style, or like her game style and her coaching style, are going to be a better fit for women's college basketball in 4 or 5 years than Kim Mulkey's is. And that's based on some faith and delusion, I think. But I think that's where we're headed. And they made it just as far this year.
Racking my brain a bit about people who, was it Calhoun at UConn that won that championship? Basketball?
He won 3 championships.
And then Kevin
Ollie won the 4th one, yeah.
So, and then now the new guy, Hurley.
Danny.
Yeah. There have been Chizik to Malzahn at Auburn. There have been some programs that within the first 5 years of you take a championship coach and they're out the door are back at championship caliber. Amongst various sports.
Yeah, that Auburn one's a wild one. But yeah, that happens. I mean, Dean Smith to Bill Guthridge and Matt Doherty, that looked pretty bad. But within 6 years of Dean Smith retiring, they had Roy Williams.
Yeah,
at North Carolina. So you know what I mean? It happens. Sometimes you go through some lumps, but
and Roy Williams, Bill Self. I mean, there have been programs.
Yeah, Kansas. That's a big
retained really good success in this
Dave
whole deal.
Bliss to Scott Drew.
Yeah, it took. I don't know about Scott. It took him a while to get off the ground. Took him a bit. That's going to be a controversial one long term. Good for Nicki Collen. I just like the fact that she's a nice person. That's the universal thing. When I was still 6 months ago in the Baylor athletic department, you'd walk the halls. I would be drugged through the halls. Get out of here. Was Nicki Collen's really nice, and not in like a. I was on a podcast one time. I joined the Chargers podcast after JT Woods got drafted there. And they asked me, they're like, so what can we look forward to in this kid? It's not a cop-out. It's not, there's not usually a good way to start, but he's a really good kid. Usually.
First over player, baby.
Usually that means they suck, but that's not the case with JT Woods. He is good, and he's still in the NFL.
And can I say this to add to that point? Maybe this is a point towards women's college basketball still has room to grow, because I think a lot of people care about that she's a good person as well as a good coach, but a good person, a gooder person than a great coach that had left. And I don't think you would see that in a lot of men's basketball programs. I really don't think, like, I'll give you an example. If Mark Pope stinks at Kentucky, he's a very nice guy. But they'll be like, well, the guy before was kind of a jerk, but he also, went to the Final Four a lot. They would. I think you would rather take the jerk, in most, in this scenario, in most men's college basketball programs.
Yeah, and Nicki Collen's a great ambassador for the school. Kim Mulkey was the ambassador for Baylor there for a bit, and that wasn't a very good thing.
Not for what Baylor's going for, anyway.
She told you to smack people, and
I cheered for that, so I can't. I was in the building cheering for that. So
yeah, get him! Come on!
And I look. I'm still in a weird way a Kim fan. I am. It might not sound like it, but I am.
She's got some moxie. She's got some moxie.
Oh, she does.
Maybe her son will be my coworker soon. This has been It Always Will Be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Baylor. And Dose Grande. Bye.